So in today's video, I want to talk a little bit about some of the things that we do to get ready for the upcoming season. Bow season's only 6 days away from me here, and I'm in southeastern North Carolina, and so I'm trying to get everything ready. And like me, I'm sure most of you that are getting ready to start hunting you've got your tree stands up, your ladder stands, your hang-on stands, and if you're like me, you've got a couple in reserve, a couple of climbers out there ready to go, things like that. But the main thing I wanted to bring up that you may not have thought about is your harness and your bags. They could use a little cleaning too sometimes if you've been using them for very long. And so generally what I'll do with my bags and my harnesses on a fairly regular basis, I'll hang them up and I'll wash them. And I don't use any soap. I merely hang them and wash them, rinse them really thoroughly with the hose, and then let them air dry in the sun. One thing I would highly recommend, once you get them washed and they've completely dried, it's right here. It's called PERMETHRIN. And this stuff is effective through 6 washes. So you put it on your clothes and your gear, your boots, your bag, your harness, and let it completely dry. They tell you on here, do not let this come in contact with your skin. You don't spray it on yourself or anything like that, so you need to be careful with it. But once it's dry, you're safe. So it repels and kills ticks, chiggers, mites, and mosquitoes. So during the swatting and sweating season around here, that's pretty good stuff to have on your boots, on your backpack, on your harness, and on your hunting clothes. So, and like I say, it's effective through several washings. And if you're like me, I don't buy the products, the scent control products for washing my clothes and things like that. I use baking soda. I've never used anything but baking soda on every garment that I wear to hunt out of. That was a tip I got many years ago from some highly successful professional hunters. So baking soda is the way to go for me. It's cheap and it works. It gets your clothes clean and it gets the scent out of them. And plus I utilize hanging them outside and letting them air out before I hunt and everything too. So that's one tip that I want you to get out of this video today. And if you'll stay tuned towards the end, I'm going to have another one, and I'm going to show you how you can take this aluminum wire right here and rewire your Luminox. Not really, but I'm going to show you how you can use this, and you can well, you stay tuned to the end, you'll see. So at this point, you're probably about ready to go. Biting at the bit, as they say. You've got your bow tuned. Maybe you've restrung it, that type of thing, which is what I do fairly regularly. You've got your arrows built, nock tuned, that type of thing. You've got your broadheads have been tested to make sure that they're hitting in front of your pin like you want them to. And you're pretty well ready to go. So I promised you a tip about your Luminox, so here we go with that. Okay, as promised, today I'm going to show you how to rewire your Luminox using some of this heavy-duty ground wire. Not really, but I am going to show you what this can be used for. If you are someone who uses Luminox like I do, and I shoot gold tip arrows, so this is the GT model of the Luminox, which matches the GT Knox that you get anytime you buy gold tip shafts. So Luminox are not cheap. They run somewhere around about $10 a piece. So that can get kind of expensive. And I like for everything to be matched up. I like for my hunting arrows that I use to be exactly the same as the arrows that I practice with in the backyard. I want everything about it the same. So I've just recently built a new dozen arrows. I cut them and everything right here, and usually I have a spine indicator that I built. Should have done a video on that, I guess, but anyway, I like for them all to be matched up and be exactly the same. And I'll go through that dozen arrows, tuning them, knock tuning them, putting them through paper, and shooting them in the backyard with the actual broadheads on them that I'm going to shoot. And inevitably, out of every dozen arrows, you're going to have a couple, 2 or 3 arrows that are not going to hit right in front of your pin. They're always going to be high or low or left or right. No matter how much you try to tune a knock or whatever, you're always going to have flyers, or at least that's my experience. You're always going to have at least a couple of flyers out of that bunch. And so I number my arrows and I keep up with them when I'm testing them and tuning, and find the ones that hit group together the best. Those are going to go in my hunting quiver. The ones that are left over are going to be the ones that are just my practice arrows for shooting in the backyard, or I have a bag target over here on the other end of my shop, 10-yard shop, but at least I can get in here and shoot in bad weather or at night, whatever I want to do, and try to maintain form and good archery habits. So back to the nocks. Most of the time, you're going to find that a Luminox is going to weigh somewhere around about 27 and a half grains. I've checked a lot of them, and most of the time that's about where they run. So here's one here. And these, the standard GT Knox, usually run a little over 17 grains. So you got a difference there, about 10 grains. So now to this. And you could use copper wire, and the copper wire you probably could use a shorter piece. Copper would be heavier than the aluminum. This just happened to be what I had in here in my shop. And so this is what I've come up with. And this particular one right here weighs 26.7 grains, which is plenty, which is plenty close enough to the 27.6 that this one weighs. 27.6 and 26.7. That's not much difference. And they vary just a little bit. I've got another one here that's coming in at 27.7. It's hard to cut them exactly. You could play with it, you could cut it long, and you could just take tiny little increments off of it and make it match perfect. If you're that dedicated to it. I'm not, because I know it doesn't make any difference. For hunting arrows, a .08 0.02 grains is not going to make any difference in the flight of that arrow, trust me, especially at the range that you're going to probably be limiting yourself to for bow hunting. If you're like me, you try to set yourself up for shots that are within the range that you know you're effective at. If you cut them all about the same length, they're going to all weigh about the same thing. So next, I'm going to use, this is the glue I like to use. Everybody's got their own preference, but this right here seems to work really, really good for fletching my arrows. It's really tough. I have almost no problems whatsoever when I use this. And so about time for a new bottle. I'll put me a nice large dab of that in there and let it start to sink, and then I'm going to take that aluminum wire, I'm going to stick it in there, and I'm going to clean off any residue that's on the outside, because I don't want to be building up the outer diameter. I don't want to be building up the outer diameter of my nock. And so that one weighs 28 grains. But that glue's wet, it'll dry, and I guarantee you the weight on it will change just a little bit as that glue dries. Not much, but just a little bit. So now I've got regular GT nocks that weigh virtually the same thing as my Luminocks that I can use on my practice arrows, and everything still weighs the same and shoots the same. And I'm not burning up $10 nocks, because if you use Luminocks on your practice arrows, they will stop working after a while. Not just due to the battery going dead, but it's those tiny little wires that on the Luminock, which turn them on as they make contact with the end of your arrow. They can only be mashed so many times. You can, when they stop working, or if they start flickering a little after being shot a lot of times, you can take them out. You can take your arrow squaring device and clean it up, just clean up the end of your arrow just a little bit, and maybe take some alcohol and clean around the edges of the Luminock, and they'll usually go back to working for a while till you shot them another 20 or 30 times. So that's my tip on how to save you some money on some Luminocks and still have your arrows all matched up, weigh the same. So there you go. I hope you find something useful in this video. If you do, please hit that like button, smash it, smash that like button for me. Hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed, and please share it with somebody that you think might enjoy the content that I have here on this channel. And thank you for watching.